Hey guys, welcome back to some more AFK Arena. Today we're back over on the YouTube account. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. We're going to look at the 5 things that need to be updated within AFK Arena. Now we've been playing this game for 4 years, and I believe in April will be 5 years that we have been playing AFK Arena. So it's been going through, and a lot of things have changed in the game. However, there are still a lot of parts since introduction that have remained the same that we really haven't seen much changes to. Number one, starting with the campaign. So campaign progression is, in my opinion, very mediocre. There's not very many rewards in there. Pretty much you come in here, you copy the formations because that's what we can do now. And that's it. You run the formations in there. Now, like I was saying, the loot in here hasn't been updated for an incredible amount of time. Even looking at 53, you get a tier 4 stone. Even here, you do get a few Stargazer scrolls. But overall, there's not enough rewards in the campaign to really justify the time that it takes to go through there. For a majority of players, especially when you're getting into chapter 53, the time and effort to get in here is literally hours, days, weeks for a majority of us, especially depending on where you have your heroes built. It does take a lot of time and effort in this game mode to make progression. But again, it seems like if you're like me, I go ahead and I overlevel with the resonating crystals significantly. I have a majority of the heroes built out, so I'll wait to do just a couple stages at a time, or actually push through probably 20 or 30 stages in a single point because I overlevel it. That way I don't have to move through it because it is so tedious within the campaign. Overall, definitely updating the rewards in here would make a very big difference. Second part, guys, is of course the one that they have forgotten. Just to give a big shout out to AFK Arena and Lilith, we still do have guild bosses in here, guys. That is right, Riz and Soren is sitting in here since the day they were introduced. We're now sitting on almost 5 years with the exact same heroes. As you can see, this is before they even had the Mythic Loot. Mythic Loot is not in here. Tier Stones is not in here. This is such a very, very sad place. Not only once you get to a point of just capping your billion damage, which a lot of people are doing that at around Resonating Crystal, and I believe with our power creep around 425, 430. But overall, you just come in here, you do your 3 daily attempts automatically, and that's it. You never do anything with the guild boss. Now, looking at AFK Journey, looking at a lot of different games, they could make this part incredibly functionality, especially with guilds. And I really feel like they need to introduce new bosses in here, or we need to see bosses that are on a rotation. And what I would personally love to see in this aspect would be bosses that are in totality hit by a guild, which means you have 70 guildies. You have the opportunity to have 70 attacks on Riz in a day, depending on what tier based on the damage your guild itself does. Will determine what loot you get in here. Could be a way to give us a couple extra Stargazer scrolls and time emblems out of these 2 bosses. Or you know what? They could even drop in some of the Curse Realm Nightmare Corridor bosses on a rotation and just have them as the guild bosses, or have tiered guild bosses depending on the damage you do, which the tier does increase every single week. I would love to see it, guys. We've been talking about this for years when it comes to the guild bosses and the overall, just the revamp of that. Now, also, the Arcane Labyrinth. This is another place, guys, where the Dismal Maze, the Arcane Labyrinth, we have run this so many times. It's just absolutely disheartening at this point. I know a lot of players have even chosen not to do it. Even though it's easy, you still got to go through the 3rd floor every time. Just takes a couple minutes. But once you beat this, and I believe it's 30 or 50 to unlock the Dismal Maze. But once you beat this hundreds of times, if not coming up for a majority of us, thousands of times, there needs to be some reprieve to either updating the loot in here to make it more beneficial, possibly putting in some of our arcane staffs in there to, again, make a difference in updating some of the loot that we see within this game mode. Because again, it seems like it is such just a tedious place that players go into, and literally it's even with the double loot, you get some okay loot in there. I wouldn't say it's really exceptional for the time and the return, but overall you're pretty limited to what you get in here overall for the time that you're putting in there. Next one we look at, guys, is a building that I know most players, including myself, have not used, which is the trading hub. So this one, guys, they gotta do something with it overall. So I have run 10 Abyssal Expeditions. I believe we're going on number 11, which is going to be coming out soon. I have bought 2. That is right, guys. Out of this exchange store, I have bought 2 items out of the exchange store in 10 Abyssal Expeditions, which again is kind of crazy. Now, I've bid on some items, won a couple items through the actual rewards they give us with the dragon crystals. But when it comes to this shop, so when it actually comes to these dragon bound crystals, again, I believe at this point I bought 2, and I'm going to do it for you here, guys, right here. Boom, we're going to buy another Stargazer scroll because this is the 3rd time in 10 Abyssal Expeditions that I've used this store. So it's kind of, and honestly, at this point, it's just kind of asinine to even have this store around. Most of the time that you're getting the bound dragon crystals, you're getting 2 or 3. Stuff in here is costing 7,500. And remember, I came from Casuals, which is an old school guild that doesn't really exist anymore. But overall, guys, we were some of the top tier players within the Abyssal Expedition, especially when it was earlier. We still didn't see the rewards out of here, which is kind of crazy to think. That gave me the ability to build 2 things or buy 2 things in here before. And the final one we look at, guys, which drives me absolutely crazy, is our Stargazer. Now, overall, looking at our probability, and what I would love them to do is make this similar to the Temple of Time. So getting rid of these. So since the introduction of collections, Dur's Grace artifacts are non-existent, guys. If you're not building out collections, you need to do it now. But a majority of players are not running any of the Dur's Grace or even any of the class-specific artifacts because of what they did with the collections and how effective the collections are within AFK Arena. Now, in addition, guys, the elite cards, I do like. The rare I can take. Arena tickets drive me absolutely crazy. This needs to be revamped. This needs to be dropped out, guys. These, again, we have 778 of these. Drop them out, get rid of them. We don't need the arena tickets in here, as well as the rest of the loot kind of coming down here. It's good to get some of it, but overall, the enchantment tokens, even the rare enchantment tokens, there's no need for them, guys. They're so early game, mid game, possibly even looking at that. Once you start getting further, once you start getting a lot more gear out of Risen Sorin, the basic gear, it is all recycled. 100% of all your, your rare gear, your epic gear is going to be recycled in its entirety when you get to a certain point. So again, these are non-existent. They're just really fillers. And honestly, if they bumped up, let's say the hero essence, if they bumped up a couple other things in here, I would absolutely love it. Or even if they use some of the probabilities in here, getting some red chests out of here, getting some emblems out of here, some elite cards out of there. They need to, again, just kind of update some of the things that are in there. Because again, you're getting a lot of rewards, or you're getting a lot of those Duro fragments for artifacts that are no longer being used because the collections have been introduced. Even looking here, guys, the only thing that I can use them for is just selling them. So actually going through here, we can sell these out. And again, they're giving us 74 million gold. Gold to this point is not worth anything anymore. You'll get to a point of AFK Arena where gold really doesn't exist. It doesn't matter because you got billions of gold. There's no way I can even build out everything or use everything that we have in here. But again, we still get, hundreds, almost thousands of these Dura fragments that have absolutely no purpose. Again, there's a point where gold is a little bit important, but then you'll get to the point where you no longer use it. Same with these guys. Most of my arena tickets I sell as well. So looking at, we have 8 billion gold in here. Not really anything to buy. Even if they release some stuff in the store that was either gold-wise, that was super expensive gold-wise, I would love to pick it up, but unfortunately they don't. So we just literally stockpile gold at this point. And again, I wish they had more of a function for the gold. If there's a place that I could spend a couple billion gold, definitely would, even exchange for some Stargazer scrolls and things of that nature. Well, guys, that'll do it for today's video. Let me know in the comments some of the places in AFK Arena that you really want to see some updates and some changes. And as always, thank you guys for watching.